श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम्। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभः निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विशेषैपवरोगणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्ते नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नमो धर्माय महदे नमः कृष्णाय वेदसे ब्राह्मणेभ्यो नमस्कृत्य धर्म्यां वक्ष्यामि शाश्वताम्। नमो भगवते तस्मै व्यासाय मितदेशे यस्य प्रसादात् वक्ष्यामि नारायणकथामिमाम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. So we were looking at in the Drona Parva where Duryodhana goes to Drona after Jayadratha's death, killing. He goes to Drona and blames Drona for all the things that happened. And Drona tells him that he has done everything he can and he himself feels guilty and he himself does not feel any more safe in this battlefield after what happened to after seeing what happened to Bhishma. He himself does not feel any safe in this battlefield, but he will continue and he will try to destroy that Panchala forces completely, and he will do to his best ability in this battlefield. And he sends a message to Ashwatthama as well to continue fighting those Panchala warriors and destroy them, and also follow his control, his self-restraint and dharma, follow that dharma, and also make sure that respect the brahmanas and things like that. He sends that message. So when he was urged like that by the Drona, Duryodhana, filled with anger, he sets out his heart on the battlefield and he goes to Karna and tells him that, see that Arjuna with Krishna for his help, he penetrated that army penetrated this array formed by our Guru Drona, which even Devatas could not enter. Such a array Arjuna has penetrated, and then penetrating that, he killed Jayadratha. See that many kings from our side have killed and they've been lying on this earth now currently. And Arjuna, without any support, without anyone assisting him, in front of Drona and myself itself, even though we tried our best, he killed that Jayadratha like a lion kills inferior animals. He kills it. That Arjuna, who has reduced my army to a small remaining troop now, which is such a vast army now, has been reduced in a very small size. How could Arjuna, in spite of that resistance from Drona, he could accomplish his woe in killing that Jayadratha? If Drona himself has not supported Arjuna, Arjuna would not have been able to enter this array and kill Jayadratha. Arjuna is always exceedingly very dear to Drona, and that's why he gave admittance to this array. He allowed Arjuna to enter into this array, and having in the first instance Drona promised Jayadratha that he will give protection, then he allowed Arjuna to enter into this array. He gave that admittance to this array, and if Drona has not promised that, then I would have told Jayadratha to return to Sindhu and then leave this battlefield. So at least he would have survived this battlefield, and all these kings and warriors dying on my side probably would not have happened. Now all this happened because of Drona giving that promise and then allowing Arjuna to enter into that. Also, my brothers Chitrasena and many others, these 31 of them have been killed by Bhima in front of our own eyes. He's been killed like this. Duryodhana angrily blames Drona and he tells all this to Karna. Karna, listening to this, he says that don't blame Guru. Don't blame that Brahmana. He is fighting according to the measure of his power and courage, and he does not even care for his own life. He is fighting like that. If Arjuna, who is having that white horses tied to his chariot, he penetrated that array, then there is no smallest part of that fault goes to Drona. because Arjuna is very much accomplished in his weapons and is possessed of great activity. He's endued with very much youthful. He is very youthful and he is a hero who is mastered in all the arms. He is distinguished for his movement in the battlefield. So such Arjuna, when he is armed with celestial weapon, he is mounted on that ape-bannered chariot whose reins have been in the hands of Krishna himself, and he is wearing that impenetrable armor, taking that celestial bow Gandiva in his arm. That Arjuna, when he scatters those sharp arrows, there is no surprise that he transgressed Drona and he broke that array Drona has prepared. Nothing wonder in this. And Guru Drona himself, on the other hand, he is very old. He is incapable of proceeding very quickly like Arjuna does. And he is also incapable of exercising his arms very long time. So he can fight, but he cannot fight like Arjuna does. And it was for this reason Arjuna, with Krishna as his charioteer, is managed to transgress Drona in this battle. So I do not see any fault in Drona. So by saying this, Karna, even though he is angry with the events that's taking place, he talks very sensibly here to Duryodhana. He says that this is nothing fault with Drona. It is purely down to Krishna and Arjuna and their skills and their power, their strength, and it is because of that and all the things they have, the celestial bow or the chariot or the Hanuman sitting on top or even Krishna himself holding the reins of those horses. So it is because of that and Arjuna's skills and mastery over all the weapons. It is because of that. It is nothing to do with Drona showing favoritism to his favorite Shishya. It is not because of that. So don't blame Drona. So Karna tells him. And also Karna says that because all these things, when Arjuna penetrated this array, having transgressed that Guru Drona, when he did that, he is very skilled and he is incapable of being defeated by anybody in this battle. And I think whatever that daiva has ordained us, that's definitely going to happen, nothing otherwise. So daiva here means fate. Typical translation is fate. So when we say fate or daiva, what it means is whatever that purva janma karma phala. Okay, so whatever that one has accumulated the fruits of the previous births, previous lives, whatever the actions we did, the results of that is known as daiva or fate. Okay, so prarabdha we call it. So it is that. So the Karna is saying that all this is happening is because of that fate. So when I say fate here, the Sanskrit word for this is daiva. Daiva means the fruits of the karmas from previous lives. So many, many lives. Okay, it may not be the just previous one, and it could also be from this life if we have done extremely good or bad. It could be from this life as well. But generally, it is the prarabdha which is from the previous. So he says it is because of that fate, and Duryodhana, in spite of ourselves, not just ignore Drona, we ourselves fighting to extent of our best powers, Jayadratha has been killed. So fate is very much all powerful. With yourself, we had been trying very much in this battlefield, but fate, however, it baffles all our exertions and it does not smile on us in this battlefield. It's always, even though we always exerted ourselves to injure those Pandavas, relying on both deceit and prowess, we were not successful. When the act like this fails, there is nothing that we can do. It's all because of fate afflicted by that fate. Fate does what it does, and everything is frustrated by that fate. And the person who is trying very much may not achieve, even though he tries, puts all his efforts in it. Whatever karma one person does, even with perseverance, one should do. He should do it fearlessly, but success depends on the phase, whether the fate, whether the success depends on the fate, whether one succeeds or not. The results of that is daiva. It is not depend on, it is not in our control. And Karna then talks about all the things they have done, what actions they have taken up to now, right? So again, why fate? So first he says Drona is not fault. Then he says it is all because of our prarabdha, our fate, our daiva, whatever that we have done, it is because of that. Then he starts explaining all the things they have done, at least in this life, which he can remember. Okay. So he says that again, he said already, we tried both using desert and prowess, we tried to injure Pandavas, right? Now he starts explaining how they tried those desert and prowess, exercising those things against Pandavas. He says that by desert, the Pandavas were harassed all along, and also administration of the poisons. So we administered poisons to those Pandavas. So, for example, Bhima was given poison. We looked at in the Adi Parva, right? And Karna says that they were burnt, those Pandavas were burnt in that palace of Lak. In the Lakshagraha, they were burnt and they were defeated in that game of dice. In accordance again with the dictates of statecrafts, the politics and the logics of politics and all those things, we exiled them to the forest. All this was done by us with excellent, very much, lot of care was taken when we did all this, but all this has been baffled by the fate. And fighting with resolution, setting that fate to nothing, we should fight in this battle between you and them. Both are striving, both are trying to get victory, both are showing their prowess, but fate probably will prove to be auspicious to one party, and that party may excel in this battlefield. Again, there is nothing that Pandavas have adopted in this battlefield which is either superior in intelligence, or their actions are superior, or anything like this in this battlefield, or the prowess they have exhibited is superior. It is nothing like that. Nor on our side we have done something that is inferior. Okay, we are short of wiseness or intelligence or anything like that. We are not short on any of that. We have done everything great as well, because Bhishma, Drona, all of them are very skilled in this. Kritavarman, every one of them, you look around here, all of them are very much skilled. Shalya and many other warriors, all of them are very skilled. Individually, they could face the entire Pandava army, but all of them are failing. It is fate that decides the results of the actions, wise or unwise. Fate is ever intent on its own purposes and is awake when everything else even sleeps. Fate always continues what it needs to do. So again, look at this. So don't worry about this. Fate has its own path, but you do what we need to do. So you should continue doing that. While Karna was saying all these things, Pandavas' division that appeared in front of them, and all of them again prepared in chariots and horses and elephants and things like that, that started coming towards them. Sanjay narrating this, he says that, he tells to Dhritarashtra, he says that all this is happening because of your evil policy. All this is whatever that Pandavas again coming there, while Karna was narrating, Pandavas appeared. This is all happening because of your evil policy. And then Sanjay continues, he says that elephant force of the Kauravas, which was swelling in strength, fought everywhere again, that's prevailed over that Pandava force, and again resolved to die in that battlefield. Both Pandavas and Kaurava troops, they fought in that battlefield. Brave warriors, they fought with each other with arrows, with lances, with darts, and quickly they dispatched each another into Yama's place, and dreadful battle that took place between those warriors. Chariot riders, they struck one another. The horse riders struck one another. The foot soldiers struck one another. Like this, they battled. Foot soldiers again in hundreds and hundreds armed with weapons repeatedly rushed against one another. It was so much confusion, so great was the confusion that Pandavas and Kurus could only be distinguished by each other by their tribal or family or personal names they heard in that battlefield. Again, remember, this is now starting at early part of the night. Okay, they could not even distinguish who's attacking whom. They were shouting their names or their tribal names, saying that I am Kaikeya, I am Panchala, I am Prabhakara, or whatever it is from this side. So they are shouting like that. Based on that, they are fighting each other, those foot soldiers and others. So those like this warriors, they were attacking each other with arrows, darts, and axes, and they covered the entire battlefield. Thousands of arrows again shot by them. Those in covered the entire sky. Even this after the sun has been set, it still covered that sky and darkness. Even the stars could not be seen. While this was happening, Duryodhana penetrated into that Pandava army very angrily and filled with great anger. He, on because of killing of Jayadratha, he resolved to give up his own life, and he did not care. He went against that Pandava host. That Pandava troops again, they could not face that Duryodhana who was attacking them in anger. They were incapable of even looking at Duryodhana in that battlefield. The Panchala troops slaughtered by him, they started running away in all directions, and Pandava host, elephants and horses and chariot riders, everybody was crushed by Duryodhana in that battlefield. Again, when those uh, Pandava host was attacked by Duryodhana like that, Duryodhana Panchalas, he attacked those Panchalas. He strikes Bhima with 10 arrows. He strikes Nakula Sahadeva with 3. Virata, Drupada, he strikes with 6. Shikandini with 100. Drishtadyumna with 70. Yudhisthira with 7. Kaikeya brothers and Chedis and innumerable arrows, he strikes them, and then he strikes Satyaki with 5, and then 5 sons of Draupadi he strikes with 3. Ghatotkacha he strikes with a number of arrows, and then like this he strikes all of them and utters a line, the great shout, he utters. Like this, cutting off hundreds of warriors on the Panchala warriors and the bodies of elephants, horses in that battlefield. He behaved like destroyer Shiva himself in that battlefield, and he battled in that darkness. So while he was engaged in that battlefield like this, his staff, which had an ornament of gold, Yudhishthira cuts off that into 3 parts with a broad-headed arrow, and then Yudhishthira strikes and he pierces Duryodhana himself with 10 sharp arrows, and piercing through Duryodhana's limbs, that arrows passed through and hit the earth on the other side in a continuous line. The troops stood there around Yudhishthira, they all looking at him attacking Duryodhana like that. Then Yudhishthira again, who is incapable of being defeated in the battlefield, he shot at Duryodhana with a sharp arrow, and that arrow deeply pierced Duryodhana, and Duryodhana sat down on his chariot. Seeing him sitting down with when that arrow hit him, all the troops, Panchala troops, became very joyfully loud noise they started making. On the other hand, Kauravas started worrying and they started thinking, king has been killed like that. When they were shouting like that, Drona quickly comes to that place and then he starts attacking. Meanwhile, Duryodhana recovers his senses and firmly getting hold of his bow, he once again rushes towards Yudhishthira saying, wait, and then the battle again resumes between the Panchalas who were now sensing a victory over Duryodhana. They started attacking, and then Drona as well received all those Panchala troops rushing towards Duryodhana. Drona began to destroy that troops that's coming towards him, those Panchala warriors coming towards him. So like this, the battle continues. Dhritarashtra listening to this, he asks, when all those words were said by my son Duryodhana, who is always disobedient to my commands, when he said all those things, what did Drona do? How did he penetrated that Pandava army? Who supported him? How did Pandavas check his movement? How did Pandavas stop him advancing? Who protected Drona on the right side? Who protected him on the left side? Who were in front of him? Who were in behind him? And how did those Pandavas resist Drona when he is angrily attacking that troops of the Panchala troops when he was attacking like that? How did Pandavas face up to that Drona was very angry? And Sanjaya says that when Jayadratha was killed, Partha, Arjuna, and had a meeting with Yudhishthira, returned to Yudhishthira. Satyaki, Bhima also returned, all of them united together. They proceeded against Drona. Yudhisthira, Bhima, uh, each with separate divisions of army. Quickly they proceeded towards Drona. Similarly, Nakula and that Sahadeva, who is invincible, and Drishtadyumna with his own division, Virata, and the Shalvas, all of them united together, they proceeded against Drona. Drupada, the father of Drishtadyumna, the Panchala king, protected by Panchala force, he proceeded against Drona. And sons of Draupadi, Rakshasa Gadodgaja, by the force, by their own forces, they attacked, they proceeded against Drona. Prabhakaras, Panchalas with 6,000 strong uh, army, they proceeded against. And then Drupada's son Shikandini was heading the Prabhakaras and Panchala troops, 6,000 strong troops. He was heading that and attacked Drona. So all those Pandavas uniting together, they proceeded against Drona in that evening. When the night became pitch dark, this terror, this battle continued, and it proved that that night proved to be the death of many elephants, horses, foot soldiers in that pitch darkness. Jackals were yelling everywhere with great fear, and they were inspiring great fear. And the fierce owls were sitting on top of Kaurava's chariots, again forbidding, hinting the evil things that appeared to going to happen to them in that battlefield. Then again, in that hour, Drona attacked the Srinjayas Panchala troops. In the darkness, nothing could be noticed. The sky was covered in dust, and soon that dust started settling when the blood started flowing of the horses, elephants, and the foot soldiers. It started flowing, dust reduced, and it all became perfectly calm, and the night became very calm. And during that night, we could hear a lot of sound coming from those weapons clashing each other, like the bamboos burning in the forest fire. So again, when bamboo catches fire, it starts splitting, and when it splits, it makes a huge noise. So Sanjay describes the noise of the clashing of those weapons like that of the bamboos. And similarly, the sound of mridangas, anakas, vallakis, and various other instruments that's being played as well, and the horses neighing, and the elephants and foot soldiers, and all these people screaming and shouting, and all those things as well. Dreadful confusion came everywhere. In that battlefield, again, in that darkness, friends could not be distinguished from the enemies. It was like that. The entire battlefield was covered soon it was covered with blood. Again, in consequence of those golden coat of mail and ornaments and things like that people were wearing, those started shining in that darkness in that night. So battlefield was surrounded by yells of jackals, crawling crows, grunts of elephants, and shouts and cries of warriors. Like this, the sounds were very terrible in that battlefield. That night, again, the host of Kurus, again, all the troops they were illuminated by the jewelry and the armor and everything they were wearing, the earrings, then the weapons they were holding, all those things were shining in that night sky. In that night settings, the elephants, the chariots, which were all covered with gold, looking like stars coming, the swords and the darts, the maces, scimitars, clubs, lances, axes, all those fell like the flashes of fire flying in that battlefield. Duryodhana was the gust of that wind in that battlefield. The horse and the chariots and the elephants, they became like a dry clouds. The loud noise of drums and other instruments formed like the thunder. It was looking like a thunder. The standards, bows, those formed the lightning flashes. Drona, the Pandavas were pouring the clouds of the arrows on that in that battlefield. Scimitars, darts, maces constituted its thunders. Like this, Sanjay describes that battlefield like a huge rainy season that's coming through the battle that was taking place. Like this, Drona continuously battles, and he dispatches large number of troops, thousands of those Panchala troops to Yama's place in that battlefield. Dhritarashtra listened to this. He says, asks Sanjaya, when that invincible Drona, who is battling like that, angrily like that, what did you, all of you think? When he was battling like that, Duryodhana, what steps did Pandavas take? What did Jayadratha, Bhurishravas, who have been killed in that battlefield, when all those things were happening, when Drona was battling like that, what did Arjuna think? How did Duryodhana? What did Duryodhana do in that battlefield? What steps they followed? Tell me all those things. Who stood behind and how this battlefield takes place? Tell me all those things. What did they think when Panchalas were being killed like that by Drona? How could you distinguish between in that night? How could you distinguish in that night between the Kurus and the Panchalas? How could you distinguish in that night how this battle takes place? Tell me all those things. When he says that, again, Sanjaya continues his narration. He says that when that in that fierce night battle was taking place, Panchalas and Pandavas again, they rushed against Drona. Drona, with his sharp arrows, he dispatched all the Kaikeyas and the sons of Drishtadyumna. He killed all of them. And then, when he was battling like that, King Shibi approaches him, and he's a great warrior. He approaches him, and seeing him approaching, Drona pierces him with 10 arrows entirely made of iron. And then Shibi, however, he strikes back at Drona in return with 30 arrows, all of them winged with kanka feathers. So at the end, they had feathers of the birds, kanka bird feathers. And then, again, smiling all while, he kills the driver of the charioteer of Drona's chariot. So when that chariot was seen, Drona immediately then kills the horses of Shibi's chariot. So and also he kills the charioteer himself and then cuts off Shibi's head. So like this, Shibi was killed by Drona in that battlefield. Then Duryodhana quickly sends a new charioteer to Drona, because charioteer was killed by Shibi. So Duryodhana sends a new charioteer who holds the reins of that chariot, and then Drona once more rushes towards his enemies. King of Kalingas, supported by Kalinga troops, he rushes against Bhima, who was angrily fighting in that battlefield. And again, he strikes Bhima, pierces Bhima with 5 arrows, and once more he strikes him with 7. And he strikes Vishoka, Bhima's charioteer. He strikes him with 3 arrows, and Bhima's standard with 1 arrow. Bhima, getting very angry, he jumps down from his chariot. Again, we know from what happened previously, when Bhima jumps, battle becomes too much, arrows coming too much, he jumps down from his chariot and goes to the enemy directly, right? So that's what he does here. He jumps down from his chariot, and with his fist, he angrily kills that king ruler of Kalinga, and whose bone was shattered and fell into pieces in that battlefield with that with that strike from Bhima. Karna and others, brothers of that Kalinga ruler who was killed, they started attacking. They could not tolerate what Bhima did, and they started attacking. Bhima, again with sharp arrows, they started attacking Bhima from all sides with sharp arrows. Again, abandoning that chariot, Bhima once again goes towards the chariot of Dhruva, who is the brother of Kalinga prince, and crushes by fist blow from his fist. He crushes that chariot, and then he kills Dhruva as well in that with that blow he delivered. And then, having killed him like that, Bhima then goes to the chariot of Jayadratha. So it is like everybody attacking, Bhima going one after another and then smashing them and then crushing them like that. So he first he kills the king ruler of Kalinga, and then he goes to Dhruva, who is brother of Kalinga prince, and then he goes to Jayadratha. And then again, dragging Jayadratha with his left arm, he kills him with the slap of his palm. He kills him with a one slap, and then that Jayaratha died. Then Karna hurls a arrow at Bhima, and Bhima in return gets holds of that arrow that's coursing towards him, and then hurls it back at Karna. Then, when it was going towards Karna, Shakuni, in the middle of that, he cuts off that arrow going towards Karna, and like that, he protects Karna. So, like this, Bhima achieving these great things in that battlefield, killing Kalinga ruler with his brothers. He returns to Yudhisthira, and then he jumps onto his chariot again, and then he fights. While he was fighting like that, Dhritarashtra's sons became very angry, headed by Durmaka. They started attacking Bhima. So Bhima, again, Durmaka quickly started releasing large number of arrows. Bhima kills his charioteer and the horses, and then Durmaka quickly mounts on the chariot of Dushkarna. And when those two were united together fighting Bhima, they were striking Bhima with a large number of arrows. Then in front of Karna, Ashwatthama, Duryodhana, Krupa, Somadatta, Bhalika, Bhima in that battlefield, he, by the stamp of his foot, he crushes that chariot which Dushkarna and Durmaka were riding on, and that chariot sinks into the earth. And then Bhima, with his fists, he kills those two brothers, Durmada and Dushkarna. He crushes them with his fist only, and then loud cries of "Oh!" and "Allah!" Troops started running away. Kaurava troops seeing Bhima like that. Oh, Rudra himself is battling here. He is battling these Dhritarashtra's. He is battling Rudra himself, battling. We can't face him like this. Saying this, troops started running away. When all those kings started running away like that, so Bhima, he goes to Yudhishthira and tells him all those things happened. Then Nakula, Sahadeva, Drupada, Virata, Kaikeya, Yudhishthira, all of them felt great joy. All of them praised Bhima for his efforts, and then the battles again continued. And then Dhritarashtra's sons once again united together. They started supporting Drona, and then they started surrounding Bhima in that battlefield. They started attacking once again Bhima. So Sanjaya says that at that time, when at that time in that battlefield, Bhurishravas, when Bhurishravas was killed by Satyaki, again, if you remember, as Satyaki was going towards, Satyaki was insulted by Bhurishravas, and Bhurishrava was arms were cut off by Arjuna, and then he enters Praya, right? So when he enters that yoga state, when he was meditating, at that time, when he was in that meditation state, Satyaki cuts off his head, right? So when learning about that death of his son, Somadatta, so again, if you remember, I think I said this when Bhurishrava was battle started. So Pratipa had three sons, Devapi, Bhalika, Shantanu, right? So Bhalika's son is Somadatta, Somadatta's son is Bhurishrava. Okay. So Bhalika is also battling, Somadatta is also in this battlefield, Bhurishrava is the one that's been killed. Okay. Pratipa's second son is Bhalika. Devapi did not become king, he went to penance, he went to do austerities, and then Shantanu, through Shantanu, Bhishma and others, Vichitravirya and Chitrangada, they were all born, and the Kauravas history comes there, right? Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura and others. So the other side there, after that branch, so Bhalika, Somadatta, and Bhurishrava, right? So Somadatta is very angry with Satyaki. He goes to Satyaki and tells him that why you have abandoned Kshatriya duties while killing my son in that battlefield. So Kshatriya duties are very important, and that should not be transgressed like that. You laid weapon on my son who was in the Praya. And among all the Vrishnis, I had great respect for two great warriors, Pradyumna, Krishna's son, and you, Satyaki. I had great respect. I thought you are the foremost among all the Maharathis in that Vrishnis. But why then you behave so cruelly and sinfully against with my son who was sitting in Praya, whose arms were cut off by Arjuna? Why did you do that? That sinful behavior, I will today in this battlefield, putting my own strength, I will cut off your head in this battlefield. I will swear before this night ends, I will swear by all the great things I have done. I will say, if as long as Arjuna does not come and protect you, I will kill you today before this night ends. Otherwise, let me sink into terrible hell. Like this, Somadatta says in that battlefield, hearing this Satyaki uh, responds to him saying that do not try to scare me in this world except Krishna and Arjuna. I am not scared about anybody. So if I have killed you, your sons Sala and Soma Bhurishravas, so today I will also kill you. Like this Satyaki responds, and I will swear this by the feet of Krishna that in this battlefield I will kill you today. So like this, he also makes a promise, and then the terrible battle starts between those two, the Satyaki and Somadatta. Duryodhana, seeing this, he sends 1,000 chariots and 10,000 horses to support Somadatta. Shakuni also angrily, he goes with his army, his troops, he goes towards that, supporting that. So Shakuni again is very young in age. He processed carrying 100,000 horses. He leads that and he goes after Satyaki. So seeing, then all of them started covering Satyaki with a large number of arrows. Satyaki in that battlefield covered like that. Seeing him like that, Drishtadyumna goes towards him and starts supporting him. Then they again great battle takes place between Somadatta Satyaki with the troops that Duryodhana Shakuni has brought and Drishtadyumna joining that battlefield. Somadatta pierces Satyaki with 9 arrows. Satyaki in return strikes him with 9 arrows, and like this, Somadatta, deeply pierced by those arrows, sits down on his chariot, and then when he sits down, his charioteer takes him away from that battlefield. Seeing Somadatta afflicted like that, Satyaki uh, by Satyaki's arrows, Drona rushes towards him and Drona starts battling like that. So when Drona rushes towards Satyaki, Yudhisthira and all of them with the Panchala forces, all the Nakula, Sahadeva, Draupadi's sons, everybody, they started going against Drona. So like this, the battle continues again between Drona and the Panchalas once more in that battlefield. So the battle continues like that. So we will look at that battle and what happens in that night next time when we gather.